Hello, my loves. I hope that everyone is doing well and hanging in there and being weird. Being weird. Hang on, let me adjust my. I had adjusted my camera before, but I have to readjust it now because I have to lean back a little bit. I don't know if you know this. But I got one of these. I'm wearing the newest fashion statement. Yes, Shawtails, hello! Oh my god, it is so good to see you! Vulpes Vox, hello! And wee back! Oh my god. It is so good to see everyone. Cyclonus, yes! The gang's all here. And boys from the Baltic Star, alright. Welcome. PWB, it is such a pleasure. It is so good to see everyone. And I will tell you, I've got some stories for you tonight. Oh my word. Yeah, it's gotten weird out there. I don't know if anyone has been out there in the world, amongst the people, amongst the outside time. But yeah, it's weird, and it's continued to get weird. But yes, I do! Shawtails brings up a good point, and I should probably address the Osiris in the room. You're climbing on my throat! Oh, Jesus! But yes, the outside is scary, but what is not scary is this guy! That's right. So, if you follow me in any of the places, except for some of the places I should be the most, you may have heard tell that there's someone new in the household. And whose household, you may be wondering? Oh, hi everybody. It's me, Rockette Fox. You may remember me from such hits as Hades over on the Thursday Sirenscape Cyberpunk Red, or just weird in general all the time. But yeah, you can find me in all the places, and now you can find this handsome leggy booger. So I'll tell you, those of you who know me do know that I have an animal or two or several or numbers. But those of you who follow me also will know that, unfortunately, the Hige, the dog, the Shiba Inu, who is good boy of 11 this year, he was diagnosed with cancer, and it is non-operable. It's like, the vet thought it's likely a thyroid cancer. It's all up in the neck, and it's in his arteries, so they can't really remove it. And it's one of those things to where, being the age that he is, and also because, we could do pills, other treatments and stuff, but that would kind of only extend his life for a little bit. That wouldn't actually fix it. So we're pretty much just giving him a lot of cheeseburgers and love and a new buddy, this guy. So I was having a conversation, I was feeling in a way, and there was actually more foresight and adult thought that went into it than just that. But so my older kitties are both, they're brothers. They're both 18 this year. They're 18. Last time they went to the one vet, when I was looking at the little age chart for cats, and they were like 15, and it said, they've been to the vet since then, but when I was looking at this chart, and they were a few years younger, it said at that point that they were geriatric, so I guess they're just living dead now. I'm not really sure what that constitute of, but I got worried because the youngest cat is Geralt, Big Man G. He's beautiful chunky boy, and he is 2.5. And you know how it is with bonded cats. My older cats are brothers. They're from the same litter, genetics. So I got really worried that, like, when anyone passes in the household, could it be a chain reaction? I don't want the youngest cat to go from all the brothers to no brothers, and only a mother. But, so long story short, what is becoming a very long story in order to explain, and excuse my actions. So I decided to, transition someone newer, someone a little young in, and so yeah, this is Osiris. or as I call him, Sai. I had to make sure I would have a fun nickname before really settling on him. He actually, when I got him from the Humane Society, and his name when I got him was Chicken, which is a fun name actually, but not one that I wanted to keep. Although he is kind of like a little chicken nugget. But yeah, so I had seen a couple kitties, including his sister and one other cat, that I wanted to go check out. I saved them on my pet finder and everything. I went down there and they were both adopted. Good for them. But I hadn't even had him on my list. And so I was like, yeah, bring him out. Let's take a look. And now he's here and now I'm obsessed with him. Hang on, let me show if I can get him. He's had an upper respiratory deal. So he's been feeling a little congesty, but look at how long these legs are. He is the leggiest boy. I'm pretty sure he is, hang on, look at this face. Look at this face! Look at him! I'm pretty sure that he is, at least partially Oriental Shorthair, which those are the cats with the real triangle faces, real leggy business and stuff like that, so I'm excited. He's gonna be a gorgeous boy. He already is a gorgeous boy. He is an absolute cuddle bug, and he's got just these fingers for days. He basically has hands. So that is this fella. I was going to wait until there was a certain story that I was going to introduce him on, but as I was getting ready to switch over from the waiting screen to the introduction, he just climbed up on my shoulder, and I was like, all right, well, here we are. But that all being said, oh my gosh, let's get into it, shall we? News! Weird news. And yeah, no, Cyclonus, you are correct. That place, the world, is scary. So, oh my gosh! Also, real quick before we actually jump in, Rockette Fox sharing that their familiar of passed last year at 23. Oh my gosh. What a long and beautiful and I'm sure amazing life that this familiar had. I'm so sorry to hear about that. Super good thoughts your way. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear. That's always so hard. And yeah, I mean, it's really up to you, you know, what you think you should do. I'm trying with adding more animals because that seems like the right plan. That's pretty much my solution to everything, I guess. But yeah, no, and I'm sure he had the most incredible life. So yeah. And also Bronx Mesh, hello, good to see you. All right, so getting into our first story here, you may notice I have a book, an old book. And this is actually not the book in question. But as it turns out, now this is in California, a California man returned a library book so the man's name is Jim Perry, of Napa apparently, said that he was going through a box of books that had belonged to his wife when he came across a copy of Benson Lossing's A History of the United States from the St. Helena Public Library. That seems to be a pretty, that's a library book type of name. That seems like the type of thing you would get from the library. But the only thing is that this was not a recent checkout, as it were. So apparently, Perry, the guy who turned this book in, and he turned this book in. That's how you know that somebody is, lawful good, I would say. Because Perry says he believes the book was checked out by John McCormick, who was Perry's grandfather, who would have been 55 when the book was borrowed from the library in 1927. Yeah, so the book apparently was checked out in 1927. It's amazing that there's so much amazing about it. The book was still there. The library is still there. The people are still there. Yeah, so it's Apparently, though, the story solves a mystery that has, quote, intrigued librarians since earlier this month. Because so it says the Neb man, Perry, says that he was out of town for a family wedding, but happened to be streaming the local news, which, again, lawful good. I have never once streamed my local news for any reason. But apparently, on this stream, he saw where the library director, Christina Crichton, was interviewed about the long overdue book returned by a mysterious man. And so Perry got in touch with the library and was like, "It's me! I was the mysterious man!" And so now they know a little more details about where it was found and all this stuff. But yeah, it's really interesting. Oh, and hello, Steel IKR. Thank you for the follow. But yeah, so, and then for this last thing, Perry apparently told the Napa Valley Registrar that, quote, "I thought it would be fun to just drop it off and the staff would get a kick out of the book, but I didn't realize it would have a special significance for them. And considering that it is 96 years overdue, I can imagine the significance is probably quite there, quite important, quite, just, yeah, everything. I will have you know, I would be curious to know from everyone who have utilized our glorious library systems, where do you fall on the library return scale? Because I feel like, and I've mentioned this before, if you are familiar or unfamiliar with the, lawful good, chaotic good, neutral, all these things, where do you fall in terms of library returns? Are you always on time? Are you always late? If you happen to find one that was really late, would you just kind of, slide it to the side if you're really chaotic? I don't know. But yeah, I would be curious what you would do, because I will tell you, I probably would not even think to actually return this book. I would assume, because there are times when you can actually buy library books, like when they've gone out of circulation or something. My library near me actually has a space right in the entryway where they have older books where you can just take them for purposes, not nefarious purposes, I'm assuming, but yeah, so I wouldn't even think to return it. So next up here we have a piece of rock and roll history, or more accurately grunge history. So this is, as you may know if you are familiar, this is Kurt Cobain's Black Fender Stratocaster. So this broken guitar was sold at Julian's auction, and let's see, May 22nd is when this was posted, so probably a week or two ago. But yeah, so this guitar was sold at Julian's auctions for $596,000, which apparently was nearly 10 times more than the opening price. Yeah, so Cobain, known to have destroyed multiple Fender Stratocasters during his career, this particular model right here, this particular model is one that was destroyed while Cobain and Nirvana were working on their landmark album of Nevermind in the early 1990s, which it really bothers me that's now 30 years ago, 30 some odd. It's not, math is not something, so yeah. And also, Little Bones, holder of the littlest bones on the internet, hello, it is so good to see you. But yeah, so as we can definitely see by this nearly $600,000 going price, love for the era for Cobain, for Nirvana, for grunge is still there. And I do want to say, I think actually because so much time has passed, part of me thinks that it's actually because so much time has passed is why this was able to sell so much, because people who would have been actively in the scene and stuff during those days are now old enough, and with likely some of them have big people jobs and can just shit out money for nostalgia pieces. They're like, oh, hell yeah, I love Kurt Cobain. $600,000, all right, so the same people who probably back in the day would not have been able to afford this sort of price. Absurd adult money. Like, you've got your fun money, like, you've got bill money, you've got living, sustainably, you've got your fun money, and then you've got absurd money. This, I think, falls into absurd money. That, I think, is absolutely the deal. But it is cool to see. I don't know why. I guess maybe somebody had owned it for a while and just decided now's the time to sell, I guess. I can't imagine that it's suddenly just like materialized, like somebody found it in a box somewhere and was like, oh, look at this old guitar, how festive. So yeah, so that's fun. I would be curious to know where it's going to end up. Is it just going to be in somebody's private collection? That's my guess. Although I do wonder, like, maybe somebody bought it to put in like a music museum, Cobain museum? Question mark. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see where it goes. Next up, so I'm guessing. No, I'm not going to say I'm guessing. I know that this is not the grenade in question, which is a hell of a way to start the story. So grenades. Speaking of things that you might find, whether they're really old library books or guitars or grenades probably would go under my list of things I would not want to just suddenly find via surprise. So much like the first story, our first story of the library book, this is also an item that was discovered among a grandfather's donated belongings. Grandpop, what were you doing? Why did you have a live grenade? What is happening? Yeah, so, and the thing is, oh my god, Little Bones, you scare me. You scare me because of this story. The fact that it's hollow, absolutely. It's a cool thing. It's a cool object, right? Like, it seems like something you could do some really cool stuff with, but not this one, because this one was not hollow. They actually discovered this because an Indiana man is dead after the grenade was discovered. He died! And why did he die, you might say? Because there was an explosion. Because it exploded. This grenade exploded. It was not hollow. It was among Grandpop's stuff. And, oh my god, he had a grenade! He had a live grenade. So anyway, before I just keep repeating myself over and over and over. And Vampire Bites, hello, welcome, it's so good to see you. But yeah, and Little Bones, holy smokes, literally. So, and this is a tragedy. Like, this is horrific. But just the way this is said in this article kills me. The family was looking through their grandfather's belongings when they found the handheld explosive device and it went off. Apparently, Sheriff Oscar Martinez Jr. says that someone reportedly pulled the pin on the device and it detonated. So, I'm going to go ahead and take a moment. I'm going to take a moment to give out a little bit of professional Rockette Fox advice. And that advice is, if you find a grenade among Grandpop's donated belongings, don't pull the pin. Please do not pull any pins on any grenades. Like, yes, Bronx Smash, you got it right. Never pull the pin on any grenade. Like, if you are in a thrift store and you find a grenade, don't pull the pin. Don't pull the pin. Just leave it there. Just leave it alone. Yeah, pull the pin if you are in a situation in which you are holding the grenade in your hand and you say, that's where I want it to go, and when it gets there, I want it to arrive with extreme aggression. That's when you pull the pin. So the really unfortunate part about all of this, so responders to this explosion found an adult male unresponsive at the scene, and he was later declared dead. And then also, The man's two children, a 14-year-old boy and an 18-year-old woman, were wounded by shrapnel and transported to a nearby hospital. Apparently, the investigation is ongoing. And, like, this is wild. I guess I shouldn't be surprised by this, but apparently, according to the FBI, it is not completely a thing that does not, nor has not happened, where families have unexpectedly found explosive devices in the belongings of their parents or grandparents who were military veterans who might have brought back the explosives, I can't even talk anymore, explosives as souvenirs from World Wars I, II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War. Please do not bring active explosive devices back from places, and do not ignite them or activate them or whatever it's called when you pull the pin. So, yeah, exactly. Like, keep your little fingies off of any sort of trigger if you're handling a trigger-activated weapon, unless you have set yourself up to actually use it. Oh my god, a metal piñata! So, oh my god, I am so sorry. This is gonna take me a second. McGilligan, or McGilligan. Hello, welcome. It is so good to see you. It is so good to have you. Thank you for the follow. And yeah, so the grenade! Just a TLDR on that. Apparently, someone found a... Yeah, McGilligan! Oh my god, first person to get it right. Hang on. Yay, me. But yeah, so the TLDR for this grenade is that somebody was going through Grandpa's donated belongings, late Grandpa's donated belongings. They found a live grenade. Someone pulled the pin, and it was a live grenade, and it did what live grenades do, in that it exploded. And so, yeah, there's an investigation ongoing, but it's pretty clear what the scenario is there. So, moving on to something lighter, though. Something a little bit lighter. Well, boys from the Baltic Star. Oh my gosh, yes, get some rest. Get some rest. And you are absolutely welcome. And I will say that, honestly, just in time for the English cheese, but for anyone who is hanging out and can't make the entire stream for your weird news of the month, we do actually put this onto the YouTube channel, so you can always catch up. Leave some comments. I'll get back in there and respond. It'll be great. We'll have like a thing going. But yeah, cheese rolling, one of my favorite sports, I'll have you know. The annual Cooper's Hill Cheese Rolling Race. It's an annual event in Brockworth near Gloucester, and it features multiple rounds of racers. Now, the article says stumbling down the steep Cooper's Hill, but I would prefer to use the word gliding, gallivanting, strutting with vigor. And so what happens, Gloucester, oh my god, boys from the Baltic Star, thank you, because I knew I didn't know it, and I was gonna try and just go real fast and hope that it just didn't, that it would just kind of slide under the rug. Gloucester, wonderful. PWB, face plowing down the hill. But what happens is, so they actually use apparently a fake wheel of cheese to roll down the hill, and people chase that wheel of cheese. Which I'm a little like, come on, man, get the real thing in there. Just let them all, get dirty all over the actual cheese, and then whoever wins can win the gross cheese. Nah, the more I say it, the less appealing it sounds. But yeah, apparently the local sport has a history that stretches back to at least 1826, but local legend claims it began as early as the mid-17th century. It was canceled in 2020 and 2021 due to the pandemic and all of that, but it came back in 2022, and it just happened for 2023, and here we have the winner of the all-women's round. And this is Delaney Irving, who is 19, who traveled all the way from Canada to participate in the cheese chase, and apparently did not discover she had won the round until she woke up in the medical tent, because at the very end of, at the crux moment when everything's happening, when we're at the climax of the story, apparently she tripped and knocked herself out. But she did win. She did win, so she got to walk away with that actual roll of non-dirty cheese, non-floor cheese. I'm assuming the actual cheese wheel's not kept or rubbed on the ground or something like that. But this does make me think, like, I actually have known about this event, and if somebody traveled all the way from Canada to participate, that means that I could travel all the way from middle of the world, USA, middle of the country, blah, blah, blah. That means I too could participate. And I will tell you, like, I can be real food motivated when it comes down to it. So, I bet I could get that cheese. And you know how, I don't know if anyone's ever watched like American Ninja Warrior, anything like that, where people actually like start practicing for this, this real intensive obstacle course and something like that. I'll have you know, I will put training in. And I will practice for this cheese race. I'll find local hillsides and I'll roll a small, maybe an RC tire or something down there, and I will practice. We should, yes, Bronx Smash. I totally would go. We could go together. We could have a CNU team, CNU cheese team, and it can be like, main goal, obviously, participate in the cheese race. However, also, just celebrate cheese as a whole. I am really digging this idea, I will have you know, and I'm kind of feeling real into it. We'll talk about this. Yeah, and yeah, I love the idea of cosplay. Who would be most likely to chase the cheese down the hill, and more importantly, who would be most likely to win? That's really what my so PWB brings up that this cheese looks to be about wheelbarrow tire size. So I know what I need to use for my practice sessions. Yeah. Oh, and absolutely. Yeah. If any of us wins, absolutely split the wheel. I do not need that much cheese in my system, because I will eat it all at once, and then I will have so many regrets. Speaking of food, though, is that a lot of pasta dumped next to a creek? Yes, or I'm sorry, a stream. Yes, it is. It is pasta in the wild, in its natural habitat. So, apparently, and this article kills me, the way that they phrase this. Quote, authorities in a central New Jersey town say they are no longer noodling over the mystery of how hundreds of pounds of pasta were dumped near a stream. Hundreds of pounds is a lot of pasta. Now, I'm assuming this is less dry and more of the cooked pasta variety, because I'm noticing some longer noodles. They're not all stacked up like hay. They seem to have a little give to them. And wet pasta weighs more than dry pasta? Because it's wet, because there's water in there. If we have any pasta aficionados among us, please feel free to correct me. I do not know the weight differences of pasta. But 100 pounds does seem like, it looks like a lot. This is actually a photo of the incident. So apparently, on the Friday right before this was published, which this was May 5th, so this would have been at the beginning of the month. Apparently, though, on a Friday, the pasta, which includes spaghetti and macaroni, I'm glad we have that clarification, was cleaned up by public work crews shortly after the officials learned about the oodles of noodles. Someone is having a great time with this article. But yeah, somebody posted pictures on social media. Oh my god! Okay, so we started off, the article starts talking about 100 pounds. It was 500 pounds. This was 500 pounds of pasta. That is a lot of pasta. It's a lot of stuff. But okay, so apparently, um, apparently the pasta was raw when it was dumped, but it rained. Nature wanted some of that delicious, tasty, tasty starch. So apparently, after the rain, it made the pasta more cooked as, because it's not actually cooked, right? It wasn't like a boiling rain or anything like that, hopefully. But yeah, so apparently the pasta did not cause any environmental damage or health issues, and the matter is currently considered closed. Yeah, it's not really clear that anyone knows from whence the pasta came or why it ended up there. And the people bring up a good point. It's pasta that could have wound up at like a food bank or literally anywhere of use. Like, unless it was all moldy, I guess. I know dry pasta can get moldy, but I feel like that would be effort, I guess. I don't know. Pasta doesn't last long around me, so the idea that it would last long enough to go moldy is just beyond me. But apparently it has been cleaned up, and I am going to guess that somewhere out there are some real food comaed out, like, wildlife creatures who got into that. I'm going to go ahead and say it was probably 600 pounds when it was dumped, and 100 pounds of that went to nature. You got some of your fatty raccoons, you got some big old tummy squirrels, things like that, who probably got into the pasta, because that's what I would do if I were nature. And also, speaking of food, this is not food. This is a screen capture from footage of a lady. Oh, snap. Bronx Mash does say about the pasta that it could have been infested with beetles. Although I noticed that you capitalize beetles, so do you mean that it could have been infested by the beetles? Because that opens up a wide range of possibilities that I have a lot of questions about. But moving on to this next story, so and this has a decently happy ending, so I can make light of it without feeling bad. But a woman went missing in the Australian wilderness after making a wrong turn, which just that sentence is a butt clencher. Like, that makes me feel very nervous. Because it's not just the wilderness, it's the Australian wilderness. And I know what you guys got out there. You got those big spiders, you got kangaroos, you got all sorts of stuff. But apparently this 48-year-old woman who police identified in a press release as only Lillian. I don't know why her name is being kept real secret, but okay. Apparently she was rescued by helicopter on May 5th in the Mitamita bushland, which is a stretch of dense eucalyptus forest in the southeastern state of Victoria. So yeah, Bronx Smash, this would have been a ripe situation for drop bears. But apparently she was driving toward Dartmouth Dam for a day trip from a nearby town of Bright when she hit a dead-end road and realized she'd made a wrong turn. As she tried to turn her car around, the vehicle became stuck in mud. Apparently, there was no cell service, because of course there wasn't, so she was unable to call for help. She had, and I'm assuming still has, health issues that makes it difficult for her to walk, but also, ultimately, it may have helped her to survive, because instead of getting out of the car and wandering free, she was able to use the car heater overnight to stay warm in temperatures as low as 35 degrees. And so apparently she'd only planned for a 2-hour drive, right? Like, it was not, she didn't pack like hiking backwood wilderness kind of stuff. So she only had a few snacks, which consisted of some candy and a bottle of wine, which apparently she had intended as a gift for her mother. And it says Lillian doesn't even drink. But eventually she consumed the bottle, which was her only liquid. Her family reported her missing on April 30th after she'd failed to make a daily check-in call. The local media news outlet said that bad weather limited authorities' ability to search by air, and it's vast. The area is really vast, so it was a lot to go over. Apparently hundreds of kilometers. But yeah, on the fourth day of searching, one of the police spokesperson said, quote, "We don't have a starting point at this moment." Lillian's sister-in-law, Lisa, told the news that she was unfamiliar with the area, but excited to see it on her trip. This is the person who got lost, Lillian. But yeah, so apparently on the fifth day missing, police spotted her by helicopter standing on a dirt road and waving her arms about 37 miles away from the nearest town. Yeah, she was treated for dehydration in a nearby hospital, but otherwise appears to be healthy, having survived for 5 days on wine and candy. And I think we all know what that means. That means that clearly, wine and candy is now considered a survivalist food, a health food, if you will. And that is now what I plan to work into my regular diet. But yeah, it's, like, and she survived. She's okay. Like, a little bit of dehydration. And honestly, like, a bottle of wine is not that much, like, and I guess because she doesn't usually drink, she was able to make it last 5 days, but I don't think a bottle of wine would last 5 days for me. Oh my god. Bronx Mash, I'm a professional. I've survived on candy, on wine, on other assorted goodies. Absolutely. So, I had a suspicion that it was possible. But now we know for sure. Science has proven. Science of this one incident has proven. But yeah, speaking of people lost in the wilderness, this next story I don't have an actual picture from, thankfully. Okay, so, you know what, there's no other way to start than to just jump in. German police said a 51-year-old man who was left tied up in the woods when a sex game went awry has had a lucky escape after a cyclist and hunter heard his screams for help. Let's dive in further, shall we? Apparently the man was discovered fully dressed, which I like how that, like, he was discovered fully dressed, get your minds out of the gutter, but firmly bound with ropes and pantyhose over his head atop a deer hunting platform near the town of Buckberg? Question mark? So yeah, apparently the man had been tied up by a woman he met online. And here's the thing. My first thought would be like, this gal brought him out there for some sort of like killer festival. Like, this is somebody who brought him out there to who is either a serial killer, or like had some other people they were gonna rob him or something like that. Because that makes sense to me, ish. That makes sense to me though, right? Like, but apparently, what had happened was, the man met the woman in the woods. He was tied up, and then after the woman tied him up, she received a phone call and fled the woods suddenly, leaving the man behind in a helpless state. ... And then from the police officers, quote, the 51-year-old told officers that he had a box cutter on him for such situations, but seemed to have underestimated the woman's bondage skills because he was unable to reach his knife. He was rescued. That's important. And he was unharmed, and he also apparently refused to provide information about the woman's identity. But apparently, an investigation has been opened on suspicion of failure to render assistance and possible deprivation of liberty, which evokes so many questions for me. It didn't say how long he was in the woods. We don't know if he had to survive on if he had candy, if he had wine, if he just ate bark off a tree. I'm assuming it probably wasn't super, super long, but wow. Fabulous. You love to see it. So our next story, this is actually a photo from the story of the individual involved. This is Joseph Dituri, who is a 55-year-old professor at the University of South Florida. Apparently, this man has broken the record for the longest amount of time living underwater. And apparently, even though he has broken the record, he plans to stay put for an extra 3 weeks, really adding a nice buffer to anyone else who wants to break that record in the future. The aquanaut, which is an amazing word, apparently has been lodging 30 feet below a lagoon in Key Largo, Florida for about 77 days, which surpasses previous records of 73 days that was set in 2014. So, again, you hear me. Like, he's put in those extra weeks so that there's, somebody's going to have to really want it if they want to break this record. But, yeah, apparently he says that the curiosity for discovery has led me here. My goal from day one has been to inspire generations to come, interview scientists who study life under sea, and learn about how the human body functions in extreme environments. Yeah. Apparently he's planning to stay underwater until day 100 as part of a research project on how the human body responds to living under extreme pressure. I feel like if you want to know that, you can ask me about the past year. And I would be happy to answer those questions. But apparently his home includes a sleeping area, living room, small kitchen with a coffee machine, microwave, and lots of frozen food. I'm guessing if he runs out of food, people could just Ziploc some food up and bring it down there for him. It's 30 feet underwater. It's not like he's in space. Not to say that's not a feat being underwater for that amount of time, but still. Yeah, Sea Lab 2023. So good on him. He's doing, and also it's part of research. That's neat. I mean, I've never really looked up what happens, with the human body under pressure, except to say I do know some things about, space life because I've read them, and, I do know that there is an answer to, about pooping in space. That's neither here nor there right now, but, yeah, just... this Bones, this is also not a photo from this particular story, but an Arkansas woman has pled not guilty to charges that she stole body parts from medical school cadavers and sold them through Facebook for $11,000. Listen, I am on Facebook Marketplace quite a bit, and I have never come across anything like this. So, apparently, Candace Chapman Scott, a 36-year-old former mortuary service worker, is accused of selling 20 boxes of everything from human skin to skulls to a man in Pennsylvania. Now, don't get me wrong, would I love to have a human skull ethically sourced? ? Yeah, no, that would be super cool. A box of human skin, though? A box of human skin? No, thank you. You're just saying it upsets me. Oh my god, Bronx Smash! Bronx Smash shares that their ex knows the guy in Pennsylvania! Oh my god, listen, Bronx Smash, I do not know the cordiality you have with your ex. If it's weird, if it's uncomfortable, disregard everything I'm about to say. But if y'all are on, talking terms or, friendly terms or whatnot, oh my god, I need details. I need details on this. I am so curious. And specifically, the detail I need is, what is the plan for the box of skin? Oh my god! Need to ask me. I do want some dice made. I do want some. Yes. Oh my god, yes, absolutely. Okay, so I just want to know what the plan is for the skin. I want to know what the plan is for, like, skulls, absolutely. I got skulls all over the place. Skulls, bones, yeah, got it. What? Oh wow, this is taking a turn, and I love it. I am so here for this. I will say, but apparently the gal who sold all this stuff, has pled not guilty. I don't know how that's gonna work. Yes, oh my god, Bronx Smash, yes, please. Oh my god, so apparently what happened though, so apparently this gal messaged the owner of a Facebook group explaining how she acquired the corpses, she had said, I follow your page and work and love it. Just out of curiosity, would you know anyone in the market for a fully intact embalmed brain? Sent pictures of 2 brains and a heart. And yeah. Oh, we have a list. Okay. Over the course of 9 months, Scott proceeded to ship the man an ear, an arm, lungs, livers, kidneys, hands, breasts, penises, fetuses, skin, skulls, and 1 whole human head. Oh my god! You can't do that! You can't sell that on Facebook! You can't sell things like that on Facebook and ship it through the mail! What? Like, listen, I follow a lot of oddities groups, and I'm real into that. Like, I'm real into a lot of weird shit, but you can't sell human parts on Facebook Marketplace! There are rules against that. You will get banned. They will permaban you for that kind of shit. Oh my god. I am stunned. I am stunned. Like, as you can probably tell, I find these stories in preparation for these final Tuesdays. I find the stories, I prep my slides, I take a cursory glance over. I don't read in depth though, because I really like being just as shocked and appalled as everyone here. Oh my god. Okay, so if he got the skin, he has bound book, jewelry. Interesting. Okay, no, listen, that's, at the end of the day, leather's leather, am I right? But there is something about it that feels really uncomfortable. Okay, cool. Well, moving right along to a story that's 1,000 times more normal and less weird. Apparently a fertility doctor accused of using his own sperm dies in a crash of a hand-built plane. Let that sink in for a moment. So the actual story is the fact that this person built a plane for themselves and apparently did a shit job because it crashed and they died. Fun side notes are that this is a New York fertility doctor who was accused of using his own sperm to impregnate several patients. Like, that, don't do that. Don't do that. I know that, like, listen, when you're going to a fertility clinic, like, it's gonna be someone's, right? It's gonna be from someone. But, like, there's something about it being from the doctor that feels very, like, just extra creepy. I don't like it. But yeah, so apparently this was Dr. Morris Wortman, who was 72, a passenger who, and apparently he was a passenger in the experimental aircraft. Preliminary findings indicate that the, quote, wings of the aircraft became detached from the fuselage and fell to the ground in an orchard. Wow. Kai Hawkeye, hello, and yeah, this is the timing. Yeah, this fucking plane didn't just break. The wings fell off. The plane. Someone did even beyond a shit job on this. But yeah, so Wortman was a well-known OBGYN in Western New York who was often the target of anti-abortion protesters, was sued in 2021 by the daughter of one of his patients who became pregnant in the 1980s. The lawsuit said the doctor secretly used his own sperm while telling the patient the donor had been a local medical student. Yeah. Well, and honestly, like, Brown Smash, you bring up a good point. Maybe he was assassinated, because if this is something he did and, like, people knew about this, and it seems like he did this not necessarily just recently, I could absolutely see somebody being like, yeah, we'll just take the screws off this. But he's gone now, and that makes him not our problem. Yeah, so... you know, speaking of aeroplanes, however, I do have another story here. You'll notice here there's this fine picture. Oh, hi, bud. There's this fine picture here. That's a Delta airplane is what that is. And this here, circled in this delightful highlighter here, those are bees. Those are bees. Apparently a flight from Houston to Atlanta was delayed for about 3 hours when thousands of bees swarmed on the wing of the airplane. Thousands of bees. And so apparently this was discovered. Well, it was discovered by looking out the fucking window and looking at all of the bees. But it was discovered on a wider scale whenever somebody tweeted, my flight, and with a picture, probably this picture, my flight leaving Houston is delayed because bees have congregated on the tip of one of the wings. They won't let us board until they remove the bees. Which is fair. Like, don't pass by the bees. Because that is like, it doesn't look as crazy from a distance. That's a lot of bees. Hang on. We got ourselves a climber over here. Buddy, no. No. Okay, let's come back over. But yeah. Apparently the plane's captain announced a beekeeper would not be removing the insects due to not being allowed to touch the plane, and pest control would not be able to spray the bees. So apparently they just had to wait for the bees to naturally decide they'd had enough and go away on their own, which apparently took 3 hours. The bees hung out. They realized the plane was being delayed for a weird reason. They had places to be, so they decided on other travel arrangements. And yeah, so what I want to, we're about at time, so what I wanted to end with, and this is actually what I was planning on, oh my god, Craghorse says, would that be economy class? Yes it would. But yeah, so this last story is initially when I was going to reveal my newest child who is climbing on everything right now. Areas. But yeah, so our last story is a fabulous one. Apparently. So a South Carolina animal shelter said a lost cat was reunited with his owner after 10 years. 10 years. So apparently the Charleston Animal Society had recently picked up a cat. Animal control officers did the old scanny, and the cat was identified as Mr. Mojo. Mr. Mojo went missing 10 years ago, apparently about 2 miles away from the spot that he was found. Which, that kind of gets you, doesn't it? Apparently, Mr. Mojo's owner was identified as Aaron, had adopted Mr. Mojo and another cat named Mahi on the same day, but Mr. Mojo fled after the household added a dog that the cat did not care for. The cat knew what he wanted, and it was not a dog. He was an indoor-outdoor cat who usually came home, but after that night, he never returned. For weeks, she put up flyers in the neighborhood, posted on social media, checked the shelters, did apparently all the right things, but Mr. Mojo was not found. But yes, 10 years later, and the shelter said that apparently Erin, when she arrived, broke down in tears upon being told that Mr. Mojo had been found after a decade. Again, I cannot stress that enough. This cat was just out there living his best cat life for a decade. Apparently she rushed to the Charleston Animal Society to reclaim her boy. They are now reunited. It's so interesting. Like, you love to hear it. At the same time, though, I think about, I'm like, that is the majority of this cat's life, right? This cat has left the nest, gone out there, lived a full career, done all the cat things, and now, it's that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. And cats are noted to live much longer than dogs and stuff like that, but still, and yeah, no, and that's the thing too. Craghorse brings up a good point. Was the dog gone because perhaps Mojo was lurking in wait for the nemesis to flee? And the thing is too, if the cat was gone for 10 years, that is actually enough time for a dog to have lived an entire life in the household and then passed. So, and I would be curious too if the dog's gone just based on the fact that Mr. Mojo did a little escapelet to get away from the dog. I imagine if this errand brings Mr. Mojo back home and the dog is still there, the cat is not going to be thrilled. The cat's not going to be thrilled. But we got okay. But yeah, so that's a good story though. That's a nice one. That's a fun one to end on. Oh my goodness, my guy. But yeah, yes. But as always, thank you so much for joining me. It is such a delight, such a thrill to share all of this wild stuff with you, especially the connection we had here to all the boxes of body parts sold on Facebook Marketplace. I guess more sold through like a Facebook group, but still, that's a lot. But yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. It has been a pleasure. It is always a pleasure. Please have an amazing rest of your week. Do something nice for you. Go out there and pet a pet. If you have one nearby, if you see one, and you're able to like give a little scritch somewhere, it's good to do. But most importantly, do something for yourself. Treat yourself. Take care of you, and make sure to tune back in. Cybernation Uncensored has lots of awesome shows, and if you want to catch me, oh my goodness, he's climbing the window. If you want to catch me next, I am, local-wise, I am performing in a live-action parody of the 1981 classic of Clash of the Titans. It is amazing. It is hilarious. It is definitely worth checking out if you are nearby in the area, St. Louis. Otherwise, this week, I am going to be back over on Trooper SJP's channel as we have the gang get back together for Traveler, Pirates of Drynax. But yeah, I actually am going to not be there this Thursday for Sirenscape. A couple more weeks out until the show has run its course. But he's on the wall. This is probably fine. But I will be back soon, and I look forward to seeing all of you then. Yes, so take care of yourselves, and if you got it in you, do something nice for someone else, but most importantly, do something nice for you. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much.